Hey guys, Trevor the Great here again with another Warmachine battle report. This time it is Cygnar versus Khadoran, and this time it is Captain Dominique Darius. Not Dominic Darius, that's her crazy older brother who runs around and tries to fix his jacks. This is Dominique Darius because I converted a Darius model out of the Bombardier Bombshell model that was created or released at Gen Con as a limited release. So you can check out some more photos of that on my website, Trevy'sPaintingTable.com, if you want some closer pictures. Otherwise, you can look at her in this battle report, although I don't know if I have many good pictures of the model. So, anyway, this is Dominique Darius versus 3 Vlad, the newest Khadoran warcaster. So it's going to be two big stompy warcasters beating each other up with crazy movement shenanigans, warjacks all over the place, so it's going to be great. The scenario is just caster kill. My opponent was trying out his new caster. He really kind of wanted to keep it simple, so that's fair. This is a tier 4 Darius list that I will be playing at 50 points. It's not the most competitive list. I think I could tweak a couple things to make it a little more competitive, and I'll talk about those later on. But in generally, what the list has is a ridiculous amount of warjacks. It has Stormclad Warjack, 2 Ironclad Warjacks, the Thunderhead, who makes it tier 4, although I'm not really a fan of the Thunderhead, so I think I might drop him out in the future, and an Avenger. Now, the Avenger is marshaled to the officer of a Sword Knight unit. The officer and standard come free if I take 2 Sword Knight units, so I have 2 minimum units of Sword Knights. I also have a German Warcaster and a Squire to round things out, and Arlen Strangeways for some extra focus. So pretty simple, just a bunch of big stompy warjacks, and how the list basically works is it's kind of a peace trade list. My Sword Knights go in and basically gum up the works, while I can crane and shoot off warjacks with full throttle and a bunch of focus, and basically just kill things. The Avenger's there to get those the auto knockdowns if I really need to, or to just force engagement. He does have a really long threat range with Pronto and his normal move and his 10-inch range gun, and he's also just another AoE to take care of crazy things like maybe even Doom Reavers that may or may not be in my opponent's army. So, pretty cool. Here's the picture of the deployment and my opponent's army. As you can see, sort of a sparse board and terrain. I like to keep the center of the board pretty open so you can actually maneuver around. I don't like it when there's big terrain pieces in the center of the board. But as it stands, my opponent in his list is taking, if I can remember off the top of my head, with 3 Vlad, he's got a War Dog, he's got a Colden Lord, he has a Battle Engine and Beast 09. He also has a unit of Doom Reavers with their Grey Lord Escort, Fenris, the Doom Reaver solo, and a max unit of Crow's Cutthroats with Valachev, their little attachment guy, who gives them cool things and makes them faction Khadoran models. What is that called? An attendant. No, it's not an attendant. It's a ranking officer. That's the name. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so here's the deployment. Basically set up across from each other. I tried to get the Thunderhead over there on the right-hand side to try to get some pulses off on the Crow's Cutthroats. They have stealth, so they're kind of hard to deal with. On the other side, the Avenger's there to try to get some shots in, along with the Stormclad and Darius on those Doom Reavers before they get in and can do a lot of damage to my infantry and my jacks. Other than that, I'm going to try to Alpha Strike Beast 09 with whatever jack is closest, probably the Stormclad because he has the highest threat range, hopefully kill him off, and just grind my opponent down. I'm going to have to take an Alpha Strike from his army, but I think with the beefiness of my warjacks, I think I can deal with it. Something else I forgot to mention is that my opponent has the Great Bears on his team as well. So those guys are scary. Totally forgot about them. But there you have it. Here's the bottom of round 2. My opponent worked first, and I got my deployment zone increased because I took the Thunderhead and hit tier 4 on my tier list. My opponent basically just ran at me screaming, not a lot to say. Vlad cast Infernal Machine on Beast, and he cast Dash, so his whole army got a little bit extra movement, and everybody just ran up the board as far as they could. So he's about almost at the center line here with the speed of his models and the amount of advanced deploy he has, so pretty scary. Turn 1, I wasn't able to do too much just because I don't have a lot of long-range shooting, and my guys aren't that fast. So I ended up allocating a focus to pretty much all of my jacks. Arlen Strangeways allocated a focus to the Thunderhead with his power booster. Initially, I thought I might have been able to get close enough to Energy Pulse with the Thunderhead, but I figured that would not be, I wasn't close enough to do that, so he ended up just running. closer up towards the Crow's Cutthroats. I had my Journeyman put Arcane Shield on the Avenger because he was in threat range of a bunch of the Doom Reavers. I didn't want him to just die. And then I have my Stormclad up in the center with Fortify to basically threaten whatever my opponent has up there. And my Sword Knights spread out to basically take the charge or give free strikes to whatever wants to charge past them and get too close to them. Darius put a shot into the Doom Reavers, but scattered off and didn't do anything. The Avenger put a boosted shot into the middle of the Doom Reavers, which would have hit 3 or 4 of them, except he missed. He needed an 8 or 9 to hit, and even boosted, I wasn't able to get it, so it scattered off and didn't do anything. The Stormcloud did, however, fire at a half-jack that I'd run up, which electroleaped onto one of the Doom Reavers and killed him. Other than that, not a lot happened. Basically just waiting for my opponent to make the first move. Okay, here's the bottom of turn 1. Lots of things have happened. It's been crazy. Basically, my opponent ran up screaming again. On the left-hand flank, he had his Doom Reavers charge in. A couple of them got onto some Sword Knights, killed a few of them with Berserks. 3 or 4 of them got onto the Avenger, I think, and took about maybe 70% of its boxes out with some pretty good rolls. Other than that, his Greylord Escort charged in on one of the half-jacks just to get a hit off. It was missed because half-jacks, for some reason, are ridiculously high defense. In the center, he trampled up with his battle engine and basically just started firing everywhere with his big AoEs. Left a big old AoE marker right in front of Darius. And then on the right-hand side, he was able to wreck the Thunderhead. Now, he cast Hand of Fate onto the Great Bears with Vlad, and then the Great Bears charged in on Thunderhead. Now, I thought Thunderhead was pretty safe because there was a forest in his way. But what I'd forgotten was that the Great Bears get a Relentless Charge from one of their members. So they were able to charge right through the forest, get onto Thunderhead. 2 of them had line of sight to him. One of them only just had to charge a Sword Knight, and I think killed him pretty easily. Then the other 2 Great Bears, with their 2 backswing attacks, did a ridiculous amount of damage. My opponent's dice were on fire with these guys' attacks. He was rolling 15s and 16s all over the place, even with Hand of Fate. So those 2 Great Bears dropped the Thunderhead down to 2 hit points left. Now, there was a chance that my opponent could get those Crow's Cutthroats in, but I wasn't too worried about him. What I'd forgotten about is that Valachev has Zephyr. Now, I knew he had Zephyr, but the way my opponent used it was pretty ingenious. He charged. Well, he didn't charge. He walked up with the Crow's Cutthroats right up the Thunderhead, and then Zephyred 3 of them into his back arc, so they got their backstab bonus. And those 3, I think on the 3rd one, he was able to get the last hit point off of Thunderhead because their power and strength on their weapons is pretty low. But that was a good move on his part. Thunderhead got taken down, which is a big deal. I think Thunderhead, if he hadn't would been able to get those couple boxes left, Arlen Strangeways could have evasive him. The Thunderhead could have walked out of melee and pulsed all those guys out into oblivion. But as it stands, Thunderhead is gone, and that flank's about to buckle. So, in my turn, I know I have to get up on the attrition war. I'm down 1 Warjack, so I figure I might as well kill one of his. My Sword Knights on the left-hand side there move up into the Doom Reavers and kill all but one of them and the Escort. One of them charges into the Escort but misses, unfortunately. The Avenger activates and just cuts down a couple more Doom Reavers, and basically we're just killing them, almost all of them. One of the Doom Reavers actually charged into the Stormclad, which I'd forgotten about, and did a ridiculous amount of damage onto him. So Darius ended up moving up. I'd activated a half-jack because I'd killed one with my Stormclad last turn. The half-jack moved over to the Avenger and bodged some points of damage off of the Ironclad that was sitting there. And Darius moved up to the Stormclad and feeded, so that the Avenger and the Stormclad had been were completely healed. So then he'd also cast Full Throttle and allocated 3 to the Stormclad. Then he craned the Stormclad over, so he was in threat range of Beast 09. Now, before my Stormclad activated, I had a couple of my Sword Knights that were in the front there from the unit that was on the right-hand side move around. One of them went up and sat in front of the battle engine. One of them walked over to a Doom Reaver that was engaging the Stormclad and killed him. And then the Stormclad activated. He charged for free against Beast 09, got all his boosted melee attack rolls. And I rolled, I guess, a little below average, but I wasn't really expecting to kill Beast 09 outright because he is armor 20. And brought Beast 09 almost to death. So here's the table at the bottom of round 3. Things progressing pretty fast. My opponent just continued to push his advantage out on the right-hand flank there. He cast Hand of Fate off of the Grey Bears and onto the Crow's Cutthroats because they do count as friendly faction models to Khador because Valachev is alive. The Crow's Cutthroats advanced up and then Zephyr'd up a little bit more, and a bunch of them got in range of Darius. Now, Darius wasn't camping any focus because she had to cast full throttle and put 3 onto the Stormclad, so they were rolling, they needed 8s to hit her with dice -8, I think, on the damage, or dice res 9, something like that. And with Hand of Fate, they got a little boost on their attack rolls, their attack and damage rolls, so that they were able to get, I think, 5 or 6 shots off on her and do about 10 points of damage, which was pretty scary. Additionally, my opponent moved up with Gorman and tried to blind the Stormclad. Now, because the Stormclad has reach, Gorman had to stay outside of 2 inches of the Stormclad, which meant that if he missed, there was a chance that the blind bomb could deviate onto something important. So Gorman had to stay back, chucked his blind bomb, needed a ridiculous number to hit, an 11, I think, because the Stormclad was in melee, and ended up deviating onto Beast 09, which still hit the Stormclad, but meant they were both blind, and Beast 09 was pretty impotent for that turn, which was very unfortunate. I think that what he should have done is activated Beast 09 first, because Beast 09 doesn't really need help hitting the Stormclad, and just wailed on him a couple times, and then blinded the Stormclad, because if Beast 09 had activated, blind wasn't going to do anything except lower his defense for my turn, which doesn't really matter. Other than that, I think Vlad continued to cast Dash and then just move around the back of the board, although he is very close to the Stormclad, which is, of course, blind, so I can't get him this turn, but he really needs to move away in the future if he doesn't want the Stormclad to come get him. So, in my turn, I decided that things weren't looking too good. I'd moved a Ironclad up to basically feed onto that right-hand flank and support it a little bit. It ended up killing one of the Great Bears before they turned around and just wrecked it with the help of some of the Crow's Cutthroats that Zephyr'd in behind it. So I was losing Warjacks left and right. I was already down 2, and I really needed to take out Beast 09 and that battle engine because they were just going to continue to plink away at my infantry. So I ended up allocating 3 focus to my Ironclad that was over on the left-hand side. That was an easily charge range of the battle engine, and then I activated the Avenger that moved up and boosted a hit. One of the Crow's Cutthroats just vaporized 4 of them. My Sword Knights continued to wail on the Doom Reavers that were on the left-hand side. Left 1 alive. My German Warcaster went up and tried to buy a couple of attacks on him to try to fail his tough roll, but the Doom Reaver made 3 or 4 tough rolls that turn. So the German Warcaster cast Arcane Shield on Darius so she wouldn't die to ranged attacks next turn. Darius put a couple mines out in front of her so that if the Crow's Cutthroats did get too close to her, she would set off the mine and kill a bunch of them. And then she moved over behind the wall. I think that I hadn't moved entirely behind the wall because I needed to keep the battle engine in my, or the area around the battle engine in my control area so that my Ironclad could get his free charges and boosted attack rolls, but that wasn't really necessary, and I think I could have moved her farther back, which would have helped later on in the game. After that, the Ironclad charged in on the battle engine. I rolled awfully. I don't think I had a damage roll above 5 with the Ironclad, but I was able to bring the battle engine down to about 6 or 7 boxes, I think. I was hoping to kill it, but was not to be. I activated my Stormclad. Now he had to forfeit either his movement or his action. He forfeited his movement, took 1 attack on the battle engine, and even though he got the mat penalty, he had the boost to hit because of full throttle, hit pretty easily, and rolled high enough just to kill it off. So that was very lucky on my part. Unfortunately, the Ironclad couldn't kill it in 1 round, but that's how it goes. At least the Stormclad was there to get 1 more shot at it. Okay, so this is going to be the last round of the game. As you can see, there is a Stormclad next to Vlad, which generally heralds the end of the game, but I will explain how we got to that position. In my opponent's turn, he continued to press his advantage onto Darius, moving up over the mine and then Zephyr'ing onto the other side of it, continuing to fire at her. Now, I had Arcane Shield up, so she was armor 21, so he activated his lone Doom Reaver first and tried to kill the German Warcaster, but missed, unfortunately, for him, although that guy did make like 4 tough rolls, so I don't feel bad for him at all. So the Crow's Cutthroats continued to fire at Darius, got some good attack rolls with Hand of Fate, and ended up bringing her to 1 box left. So ridiculously close. That's what she gets for dumping the chest plate of her armor off, but there you go. After that, the Great Bears ran in and charged the Avenger, doing about 12 points of damage to it, a little below average, but they didn't have Hand of Fate on them anymore, so they couldn't really help. And the Grey Lord Escort, I think, tried to hit the Stormclad with an Ice Cage, but I don't think that did anything. And then it was my turn. I ended up dropping Fortify off of the Stormclad with Darius because I figured that it was all or nothing. Darius was on 1 hit point, and those Crow's Cutthroats were going to kill her next turn if I didn't kill Vlad this turn. And I had a Stormclad very close to Vlad. Now, what I had to do was A, deal with Beast 09, and B, Gorman was just in the way of having a direct charge lane to Vlad, which meant I need to take out Gorman. So, what ended up happening was that I activated my Sword Knights. They charged in on the Great Bears and tried to just kill them. They got a bunch of charge attacks off on the first Great Bear, and with flank from the Avenger, were able to force, I think, 2 tough rolls with him, but he passed his tough rolls like a champ and was fine. The other one I couldn't get anybody to charge in on, and I couldn't get anyone to kill him, so he ended up staying put. So then the Sword Knights prontoed the Avenger around the last Great Bear there. He took a free strike, and his poor damage rolls last turn were made up for in his free strike because he rolled 22 on the damage, and swinging a dice -7, did 15 points of damage to the Avenger. Now that brought the Avenger to 3 hit points left, and it left only 1 box left in his gun. Now that's all I needed, because during the Avenger's activation, he aimed and boosted a hit into my Sword Knight, which was engaging Gorman. The Sword Knight couldn't deal with Gorman because he did need a high number to hit and a high number to kill him because he has boxes. But I was hoping that I would be able to hit Gorman with the blast damage and boost it. Oh no, I didn't boost the hit on the Sword Knight. I boosted the damage on Gorman because I was close enough for it not to scatter off of him. Unfortunately, I rolled 1 less than I needed to just kill Gorman outright, which was too bad, really. But what I hadn't taken into account was that my Stormclad could obviously just charge the War Dog and still be in melee range of Vlad. So once I figured that I couldn't kill Gorman, I decided that should be my next course of action. So what I needed to do was take out Beast 09. So I'd allocated 1 focus to my Ironclad that was in the back there. He was in charge range of Beast 09. So Darius activated and cast Full Throttle and tried to shoot some Crow's Cutthroats. I think I killed 1 or 2. And then the Ironclad activated, charge into Beast 09, killed him pretty easily. That left the Stormclad to charge the War Dog. Made his charge attack with his fist, forced the tough roll on the War Dog, which he passed. But now the War Dog was knocked down, and Vlad did not get the Guard Dog bonus. So Vlad was down to defense 15, which means I needed an 8. And with the all-boosted melee attack rolls from Full Throttle, that was pretty easily. So the Stormclad hit with his first initial attack with his sword. And Vlad was sitting on almost no focus last turn because he had allocated 3 to Beast 09, who just basically beat on the Stormclad a couple of times. And then he cast Dash, which left him at, I think, maybe 1 or 2 focus. He upkept Hand of Fate, which I think would have taken all of his focus. So he was sitting on 0 or 1 focus, doesn't really matter, because the Stormclad was swinging at dice plus 1 or 2. And the first hit did a ridiculous amount of damage. The Electroleap hit the dog again, he failed his tough roll, and the second hit just killed Vlad right off. So, very close game. Obviously, Darius sitting on 1 hit point is very scary, and forced me to go for that assassination, which I guess he had it open for me anyway. I think he was expecting to kill Darius in that last turn, although with Arcane Shield, she was very hard to deal with. So relying on the Doom Reaver to just kill the German Warcaster, I think was a little dicey and probably a bad decision on my opponent's part, but he basically had to go for that assassination run after I had put myself in the position to kill both with Battle Engine and Beast 09. But great game to my opponent. I really didn't expect the Zephyr from the Crow's Cutthroats to take out the Thunderhead. I didn't really think about that possibility. So very good game. And my opponent said he had a great game as well. His first game with 3 Vlad, so I think he did a pretty good job and came very close to killing Darius. So I hope you guys enjoyed this battle report. Stay tuned for some more battle reports. I should have some more coming at you anytime. So keep checking back here and check out Trevy'sPaintingTable.com.